everyone. Thanks so much for joining us today, and welcome to the ultimate demo of SEDDI Decorator. I'm Michaela, the head of marketing at SEDDI, and I'm joined by our wonderful product manager, Harrison. Do you want to say hello?
Hello. Nice to meet everybody. I'm Harrison Johnson, the product manager of Decorator.
Harrison's a big part of bringing this product decorator to life. And so I'm so looking forward to diving into the platform and picking his brain today. But for those of you who may not have a background on SETI, we are a technology company that develops software for the apparel manufacturing and branding industry. And we got started in this space about 8 or 9 years ago, solving problems around how to digitize apparel design processes. And in the last few years, we actually realized that a lot of our technology from our other products has a really useful application in the branded and promotional apparel space. And so that's how our latest product, Decorator, was born. And we're really going to be deep diving into Decorator today. So, this webinar is perfect for anyone who might have heard about the platform and wants to get to know what it can do, how it can help their business, or somebody who might already be a user and wants to deepen their knowledge. You're going to learn how better visual communication can transform your workflow all the way from proof to print. And so I don't want to waste any time. Let's dive right in and let's start where actually every decorated apparel project starts, which would be finding the right blank. So, Harrison, take it away. I'd love to hear everything. Tell me, like, I've never seen the platform before about our style library.
Okay, sure. So this is the homepage of Decorator. And here you've got your collections, which we'll come to later. But let's get into the styles. So you have the featured styles. These are the most sold, most used styles from our library. I can see the broader library either by clicking on featured styles or clicking on the style library icon here. And once inside, I can see again those featured styles. And I have a couple ways to find the right style now. First way is with the official brands. Official brands are the manufacturers that we work with to digitize their styles. And so you can rest assured that these styles will have the full size range, the correct colors approved by the brand, and the correct dimensions and details. Over here, I've got categories, so I can search by whatever category I'm looking for. I've got polos. And then here I can see something called True Match. So True Match is what we do when we have a blank that we are not yet working with that brand. We make a close approximation to that style using available data. So we'll look on SNS or SanMar and find the size spec, the composition of the fabric, and then using the images, we'll find any details and we'll recreate that style. A lot of these have size range, not all of them do. The colors are matched to the colors provided either from the ecom or if we have a color standard from the data that's available on either SNS, SanMar, or a brand's website, we'll match to that. So yeah, I can take a look through here, see if there's anything I want. I can do further filtering by clicking here. And maybe I want polos, but I also want women's, for example. So then I click see products, and now I have only the women's polos in our library. And as I scroll down, I can start to see some items that are not yet available. And here I can actually request those items. So this helps us prioritize our backlog. When users make requests here, that goes immediately to our style creation team here in Madrid. And we then prioritize and make those styles on a per request basis. We're always rolling out new styles. Every week, it's at least 25 to 50 styles coming to the library. We're always doing improvements on styles. So add your vote and reach us down here in the chat where you can ask a question or request a specific style. Yeah, we are always around to respond and make sure that you get what you need to create the right mockups and proofs for your customers.
This is something I love about the platform so much, Harrison. Both the fact that we partner actually with the real world brands that companies use to create decorated products. And so that 3D product that you're building can be trusted because we have worked directly with the source so that when you are placing artwork, which we're going to get to, on these garments, you know and can trust that where you're placing that artwork is in the right place. We really pride ourselves on that, and we are so pleased to be able to collaboratively build this platform alongside our users and really listen to the things that they want to be seeing. And with that, Harrison, what happens if we don't have a product inside the style library yet? And maybe it's something that's outside of apparel, which is what we specialize in. What can somebody do so that they don't have to run off and check in with another source for creating that product?
Sure. So let's look for a real world example here. I want to make some beach towels for an upcoming collection. So I find this one in particular on SNS. And first, I'm going to search for nomadics in Decorator, just in case we do have it. So in here, I can start typing, and you'll see that there is a brand suggestion for nomadics. So I click that. Whenever you're searching in the library, always use the brand suggestions to get the best results. So little detour here, but if I'm looking for Nike, if I just search Nike, I'll get one Nike product and maybe a couple of others here. But if I actually click Nike, I'm going to get everything that we've built for Nike or as a true match, and then in order, and then the items that we haven't built yet below. So it's just a little trick that helps you find things much easier. Let's go back to nomadics. Okay, so we have some products here, but we don't have the exact towel that I want. I can request it. Let's just see, CNM, this one. Yep, I can add my vote here. In the meantime, I can go back to SNS. I can click on this, and then I could actually right click and copy this image. And now come back to Decorator. And up here, you can say, can't find what you're looking for, upload an image. I could find an image on my computer, or to save you time, just paste. And then I can put in here nomadics. I can put in the exact style number, and then I can fill in any other info that I want to fill in. And the colorway is, let's see, stripes multi. And then I just hit accept. And now we're going to go create a style with this particular blank.
So that's super interesting. I love that you can create a custom product even if we don't yet have that style digitized in our library. But kind of backtracking to creating a style, can you walk me through the process of decorating a product?
Sure. So let's start with a brand we all love, Comfort Colors, and select one of the styles here. This one we made recently. We love it. It's got this great wash on it. And then I'm going to go ahead and start creating. So now the first thing we're going to do is add our logo file. So I can drag and drop or click and browse my computer. So let me go ahead and drag something in.
And what file types and formats are we able to use in Decorator?
Yep. So we support nearly all vector and raster formats, SVG, EPS for vector, and then for raster, JPEG, PNG, TIFF. Also, Illustrator files, .ai, and Photoshop files. So you don't need to change your format for what you're used to working in to come into Decorator.
Awesome.
And then this one is an Illustrator file, for example. So this is brought in as a vector. So you can see here that it's placed immediately on the chest region and scaled to that. And our chest region is 12 inches wide. So every graphic is automatically scaled to fit each region in Decorator. And I can quickly change between different regions and get a look at how exactly that this graphic is going to look on that particular region. Sleeves are one area that Decorator can really shine because you aren't able to get this mock-up view from just flat photos. you're not always able to see the exact sleeve and where it's going to fall. And then if I put this back on the chest, so yeah, maybe I like this particular placement. I can quickly add another graphic here. So then if I go here, show another way of adding,
How many graphics can you add to one product?
as many as you want. I mean, we've put like at least 25 or 30 graphics on a product trying to stress test and it works. So yeah, go crazy.
And are users limited to only dropping the graphics into the print regions that have been defined in the product, or is it more flexible than that?
No, it's absolutely flexible. So this is the back region. And for some shops, this is too low. So I can click and drag this graphic and go outside of that region. I can scale it. I can move it anywhere. Let's say I can do dye sub or some particularly more advanced process where I can print over the sleeves. I could put this up to 20 inches wide and do an actual kind of all over print on the back of this shirt. So we put those in there as just guidelines to help you quickly set the graphics to where they need to be. But then if you're doing more advanced custom work, you can easily go outside those lines without any problem.
Yeah, I see that the placement box turns red when it goes outside. So that's just to alert you that it's not within a standard region.
Exactly. Yeah. We've learned that there is a difference between the person on the shop floor and the person doing sales. So the salesperson doesn't always know where they can place art, or the PPDs don't always know where they can place graphics. So this helps them stay within the lines and make a design that can be produced. So that's the basic placement. And then as you pointed out, Michaela, you can go outside of the boundaries really easily. And there's a whole world of options here. If I click, I can even see the exact placement of this graphic. So if I zoom in, I can see that it's 2.5 inches down from the neck. And I can change that here and get the exact placement that I want. I can center it on the decoration area. I can even align it to different places on the decoration area. 3, just to help me get that correct look.
You can place a point of measure for every graphic that's on the product, right?
Yep. I could do the same thing for this on the front. And here you see it's a little bit different because I've got both a measurement down from the center front neck collar and then a measurement over from the center front neck. And I can even change where it's measured to. Like, for example, if I measure always to the center of a graphic, I can set that up here. This little UI component lets you really customize where you're measuring the graphic to. I can do, let's say it's 2.5 down, almost 2 inches over. And then from here, if we have placement set up correctly, now let's work on size. As you saw, you have these controls to adjust size. I can also manually adjust the size there. I can come back to my placement and make sure I'm getting the exact placement that I want. Just make this 3 inches down, 7.5. There we go. And then there's the technique. So here I can change plastisol versus water-based. Water-based will have a little bit less shine to it in our viewport. The biggest difference in techniques is if you add glitter. So here you can actually see that crazy glitter technique happening. And you can also use this for reflective, actually. So if you see that white ink with the glitter technique applied, is a great way to represent a reflective print. And then that leads me to, if you have a custom print name, you can call that out here. So I wanted to do reflective. I could put it here in my custom name, but because It's a little bit complicated to set the technique, then rename it. I want the reflective look, so I'm going to do glitter. And then I have a notes section up here. So I could call out that this is actually reflective ink.
So, what we're doing here is we're actually able to visualize how it will look when it's created in real life. And when you're programming this information into this product, that is carrying forward with the product in this process. Is that right?
Exactly. Yeah. Everything you're putting in here and editing will carry forward into the tech pack that we make. And then when we make other products, we can apply these same changes to all of them. Right now, we're working on a single product, which lets you go much faster on a single mockup. But later, we're going to show you how to do this at scale and really unlock a bunch of potential.
Absolutely. We're going to get into all of that. But one thing I love about this is that instead of creating an image that is then just some static image that ends up in an email and that effort that it took to create that mock up, to create that proof, the usefulness of it kind of ends there. But with Decorator, you're able to actually create the same product that you're going to be bringing to life in 3D. It's like you're actually creating a whole new process and workflow for how to produce apparel rather than just static imagery and then having to manually create the instructions for the team of how to produce that. So I just wanted to point that out because it really is a game changer in terms of rethinking the way that we are bringing decorated apparel to life.
Yeah. And to keep going on techniques. So there are a couple others of interest. High density, we add a slight dimension to the edge of the graphic, puff as well, similar definition added. And then the rest, heat transfer, direct to garment. There is no change in the visual of the graphic. It's just something to call out for production. Now, some specific techniques here embroidery. We don't do any visualization of embroidery today. So, what we recommend is when you get your file digitized, have your digitizer create the render out of their software. And when they return the digitized DST to you, also ask for the PNG render. Use that for your graphic here. You can actually up here click this replace icon on the graphic and choose a new version of it. And so it will replace the current graphic, size, placement, everything will be the same, but then you can have that embroidered look. The same with a patch. More on that in the future. It is a big request to be able to design these items and to make realistic looking embroidery and patches. So stay tuned for that. Now I'm going to choose, let's just choose Plastisol, and then let's make sure I remove my note here. And then the next thing I want to talk about are colors. So this is a whole world. We'll spend a little bit of time here because this is an in-depth demo. So with colors, you have the colors detected in the file. This is a vector file, so I have 3 colors that it's found. But there's something interesting here, which is that this blue doesn't appear in the graphic itself. And if I click on that color chip, a little color picker will pop up, and this lets me change the color of that particular set of paths. But you can see there's no change there. When you open up this file in Illustrator, you'll see that there's a hidden layer that's underneath the other 2 objects where that blue and now black object exists. So to get rid of that, you can just click here, hide, and it will hide that color position when you are in this shortened view, abbreviated view. And it will also hide it from any tech packs that are made. So it's important distinction there. Something else you can do here, obviously with recoloring, now I can change the actual color combos of my design. So I could do like this red and gold if I wanted to. At any time, I could just reset and go back to the original. And then I can also do something interesting here, which is I could create just a gold version of this graphic. So just knock out that background and have the ground of the fabric show through. Important thing here is the actual color names. So you all work with Pantone. yet to meet a shop that doesn't. We don't have Pantone support at the moment. So the workflow we recommend is hover on the hex code here, click copy, open up Google and do Pantone code of whatever, and let AI or the Google search find you a good Pantone color converter. We don't officially recommend any one converter over another. So I can just copy this, come back, and then here I can paste in that value. And then when we create the tech pack, that's going to appear as the actual value of the color. So that's for vectors. Some notes on vectors. Illustrator files work well, but Illustrator is its own closed format. And sometimes certain versions of Illustrator don't export the same as others. So you might see that the colors listed here are different than you expect to see. You can use the tools here to hide things, but if you still find problems, best solution is to export from Illustrator as an SVG, and the colors there will match in Decorator. So that's for vectors. Now let's add a raster graphic. This is where things can get more interesting. Let's add one with 2 colors. Okay, I'm going to put this on the where's right chest so we can work on it there. So with raster graphics, we have an algorithm that tries to identify how many colors are in that graphic. So if you have different shades, there can be lots of pixels that with different colors. So this algorithm tries to group them all together. It's not an exact science. We're always trying to improve it. Here you can see that it has identified 2 shades of gold for the one that I can see on the screen. So what you can do is click this minus, and that's going to consolidate those 2 shades. Now I can recolor those 2. And then this blue, I could recolor to, let's say, a darker version of that teal. So raster graphics, long story short, your mileage may vary. You don't have as many options with them. For example, you can't hide color positions here because we're not sure of what's going to happen to the graphic. You could really destroy it. But we are working on improving this. And if you want to delete a graphic, there's a little X in the top right, and it will give you a warning just to let you know that you're going to delete it. If you find yourself really zoomed in and you're not sure where you are and how to get to the original view that you want in the 3D viewport, just click reset view, and now you're back.
So Harrison, I know that a lot of shops, they might use a Comfort Colors tee, but they might brand it under their client's name, or there might be some kind of special request around how the back neck label appears on the product. So I see here that this Comfort Colors label is on the style. Is there any flexibility around changing that?
Yeah, absolutely. Like you said, there's a lot of cases where the print shop will remove that label and replace it with a customer's label. So here, if it's a tearaway label, we have it marked, and so you can just remove it. And then what you want to do is come in, add a new graphic, and I've prepared a little Swelto main label here. So I'm going to bring this in, and then its placement region is going to be back neck label. And then what I can do is make it, let's see, 1.5 inches wide maybe, and then bring it up to be right underneath the neck tape there. Make it centered, and there you go. Now I've got a brand new label in the t-shirt.
I love this because it really customizes it right down to every detail for the customer. So that's really, really awesome to see. And what about if they want to see this in other color options or across the entire size range? What can we do there?
Sure. So I've got this colorway designed, and then I can open up colorways over here, and I can try a couple different options. So let's see. The first one in the list, the amethyst, will look like.
I like this color.
Yeah, this color looks great. I'm kind of losing my front graphic here. So, well, let's try a couple other colors and then we could edit graphics after again.
But it's nice to be able to quickly toggle between the options so you can really define what the best color for your brand that you're working with, for the artwork that they have is, and quickly make choices. You could even be looking at this together in real time with a customer, couldn't you?
Yeah, absolutely. Decorator is collaborative, so you can invite someone else in to be a viewer while you're making these changes. And now we could take a look at the sizes. So here I have each of the sizes of this garment. So let me put them all on and let's compare. So it loads up each of the sizes of this garment, and then we just give it a second to add all the graphics on. That's happening. We can rotate and you can see the differences kind of definitely in size of these garments.
Wow, you can really see how it's going to look on every single size.
Yeah, absolutely. So you've got the same size art across the whole size range. So then I could come in here and take a look at this particular graphic. And when the customer says, we want this to be an overprint at, it's got to be 14 inches wide. I can show them, well, on the small, that's going to be almost into the armpit. So maybe you don't want to do that. And then they be like, oh, okay. Well, yeah, makes sense. I can bring that back down to 12, maybe even a little bit less. And I can even control the placement from here.
I can see how this would just be so helpful for those conversations that need to happen with customers to help clarify their expectations, their ideas, and to really show them the real impact of making those choices about sizing of artwork have.
That's the reason we built the size range viewer was for that very purpose.
So I feel like I've got a great handle now on how to create one product. And this definitely speeds up the process versus having to find the vendor provided imagery for each style that you're producing, having to go in Illustrator and Photoshop and fiddle with photography and artwork and lighting. There's still some work involved in creating a product. So, is this scalable? Can we create multiple products really fast? What can we do to save even more time?
So to do that, we built something called batch create. So I can come up here once I've built one product and I'm happy with it. I can come up to batch create. It's going to give me a couple options. I can put that product into a current collection or I can create a new one. So here, let's call this. Then it's going to be for Swelto. And then from here, I'm going to select the styles that I want. So the great thing about this is I can add the rest of the colorways that I wanted from this t-shirt. So I can enter the shirt and then double click on the ones that I want, or I can do a select add to batch. Maybe I want to see like between the darker red and the more pink color. And then let's add one lighter color. And then I could click review and create. So then it's showing me a resume of everything that I'm going to make. But let's keep selecting some more. I've got 4 of these colorways. If I clear my search, go back to home, let's add a hat. Surf cap makes sense for this collection. Can find a couple of colorways that I like. Let's do a full white as well. Back. I want, let's say like a cropped tee. Here I've got a Bella canvas. Customers were asking me for AS color. So I could do AS color, crop tee. There we go. And then I could select a couple of colors here. And then little trick, You don't have to go into the style when you're here. You could, if you know that you want one of these colors in the thumbnails, double click on that color on the thumbnail, and that saves you a couple extra clicks going inside looking for the style. Another brand that my customer likes is Marine Layer. Remove cropped. I'm going to add the afternoon hoodie. Again, I can use my trick, double click, and now I've got those two added. And then one more hoodie. Add this independent 4000. So I'm going to add this camo kind of as a little extra unique item. And now I've got my batch here. It's a bunch of items. One last thing, I wanted a bag as well. So let's go to AS Color again and get the tote bag. Maybe navy. All right. Once I'm in here, I can see if there's any that I want to remove. For example, this bone crop tee, maybe I don't want that one. Or maybe I do and I want to remove the bubble gum instead. So just a couple options and then create. And now it's going to create all of these products with the logos that I had on the original products. And it's going to do that for me automatically. So we'll be able to create this new collection. And now everything's being generated here. And while they're being generated, I can actually enter and see how they're looking. It's just the thumbnails that are being generated. If there was no main label, then it might put the main label on a sleeve or something. Is that here?
That's amazing. And I mean, it's so rare that any company is going to just be creating one product. You're often creating large orders for customers. You need a way to organize and manage all of the information about that order. So I believe that's where our collections feature really comes in, right, Harrison? It can really help you to scale the creation and keep everything organized for one customer or one order from a customer inside Decorator.
Yeah, absolutely. So the collection, what we've seen is it really works as an equivalent to an order for a customer. So now we have the whole collection built, and then I can go into an individual product and take a look. So you'll notice that the system is using all of the graphics that you had in the original. And so it's added the main label here on another graphic location. So I'm just going to delete that. And I'm going to delete this one from the back.
So it's going to make an exact replica with the images you used. So if there's anything that doesn't apply, you can just go in and delete them, but it does so much of the work for you so fast.
Absolutely. And then, as you were mentioning, we have another feature that lets you now manage the whole order, the whole collection, and that's manage graphics. Click on this, and now I see all the graphics that are used, and they've been transformed from just graphics into decorations. So, decorations are also called imprints in some systems. And so, here, the first imprint or first decoration is the main label itself. And I'm going to remove that from the tote bags and the hats where there is no place for that main label to go. I'm going to only select the non-apparel items, and then I'm going to delete. And so if I click apply changes, I am deleting the main label from these 4 products. I click apply. And so that is going to clean up those products and save me from having to do what I did in the first cap, which was go in and delete it manually. So now I can do all of them at once. And I can do all of the other graphic editing that we saw earlier in this manage graphics feature. So let's go in and clean up this whole collection and get it ready for the final presentation and proof for the customer. So I've got this graphic, the sunset sessions. I have two decorations with it. One is for the hat. This is now at this size and it's going to be plastisol. And so I could change that here. Maybe I want to do this as a heat transfer. And then over here, I've got the other graphic across all of these products here. And so this one is just going to be 4 inches wide and it's going to be plastisol. And I think I'm pretty happy with how that's looking. And now I can check out the sunset sessions. So I've got one that's at the back of all these garments. I think that looks pretty good. We've got a back that's on the crop tees, which is going to be smaller. And I'm just going to say, let's remove that from the crop tees because it's going to be too busy. And then I've got it at the back of these caps. Again, don't need it. And then it's on this tote as well. So I think that looks pretty good. I'm going to apply these changes. You can now see there's these 3 changes being applied.
That took maybe 1 minute to make all those changes for the entire order.
Exactly. And then we can go in and make some more. Like I can check out the bags. Sometimes you need to go into one product and see what changes you want to make. So maybe I'm thinking in this case, I actually just want to remove that small sunset sessions. So I'm going to come back to manage graphics and remove the small one. So again, unselect the apparel items and then delete. Okay. And then anything else that I want to do is at the back. Here I could also add an underbase, something we didn't touch on yet, which is if I need to add a base underneath the print before applying it to get the correct color.
So it looks like you've got your whole collection complete here now. What would be the next step from here?
So now we're ready to make some outputs. So the most important one is the tech pack. We call it a tech pack. Others call it a proof. We call it a tech pack because it is what we see as the most complete technical summary of the whole collection. So it's going to show you all of the information you need for producing this product and in a clear, simple layout for getting your customer's approval. So it automatically generates a layout of all of your products here. It's clear, your customer can see. It gives you simple controls here. So if I want to make these mock-ups bigger, I could do up to one product per page, which is going to increase the size of this tech pack. So let me bring it down.
So you can either see the whole collection or you can have a longer, more detailed tech pack with a couple products or one product on each page.
Exactly. Or something in between. Then maybe I just want, here's the apparel items, and then I've got my accessories on the next page. And then I have one page per decoration. So here's the first one, which is this main label, and it tells me where it's used. The next one, which is this sunset sessions decoration, which is 4 inches wide at the left chest of all of these. This bigger graphic at the back, this graphic at the front of the hats, and this decoration at the bags. And then I can export that as a PDF in a zip file with all of the art attached, or just a PDF and not have any of the extra art. And what I mean by the art is, let me export this and we'll take a look.
And one thing I'm noticing here, like I was mentioning before, is all of the details around each product are automatically pulled into this tech pack. And so normally print shops would be creating this kind of a deliverable manually.
Exactly. Yeah, normally they would be creating this in Photoshop or Illustrator or sometimes in PowerPoint, just creating mock-ups, dragging them in, having to change that layout manually per order as it comes in. And this way you have a template that is a little bit customizable, which I can show in a second, but it's consistent and it's really easy to allow you to get back to everything else you need to do during your day.
And it's instant. I mean, I can just already imagine for an order this size, how long it would take to prepare all of the proof and instructions for producing these products.
Yeah, absolutely. So here is the output, which is this folder, which has the PDF of this proof that we saw. So here's everything that we just saw in the preview. And then we've got each of the pieces of art. So we've got the original art file that we brought in, and then the file that we convert for working in Decorator. So here you can see the original Illustrator AI, and then here the converted SVG, and you have that for each one of the pieces of art. Anything that's been recolored, colors that have been hidden, that's all reflected in the SVG or the PNG. And so you could easily take that into Photoshop or Illustrator and create any finalized separations that you might need. So that's one output, the tech pack. So let me go back to the collection. The second output is a photo shoot. So this is going to create 4 images of each of the products, and it's going to email you a link to download all of those. It can take a couple minutes to create all those images and send out the email. This lets you then take all of these images and then put them into web stores, for example, or into a customer presentation. The tech pack is great for many use cases, but people have their own templates for certain types of presentations. And this gives you the flexibility to use these images anywhere you need. Okay. Now the email has arrived. And so it's telling me that I've got 15 products all rendered. I'm going to click open here, and that's going to create a download to my computer. And then I'll be able to open that up here. So now I have a folder with all of the images. So I have front, back, and sides for every single product. And they're all named in the same way that the products were named inside of Decorator.
So you can get imagery or tech packs at the collection level, but let's say you just have a few products or one product that you want to get an approval on. Can you do this at the product level as well?
Yes, that's actually where we started, was doing this at the product level. So if I load up this sweatshirt up here, I can create a photo shoot for this sweatshirt. Just do it really quickly. And then I can also create a tech pack here.
That's great for those really fast approvals you need to get. Somebody sends in a request for a quote. I can imagine you could put something together really fast for them to get a project moving. I also feel like there's a lot of opportunity here for elevating the customer experience. You can really reimagine your sales process instead of getting a long email thread going with tons of attachments. What if you could just send them a link to look at this product themselves in the 3D viewport and really understand to a high level of detail and fidelity what they're going to be receiving, what they're ordering when they order with you?
Yeah, we have a great way to do that. It's with the share button here. So people who have access, this is an organization sharing feature, which we can touch on in a bit. But to give your customers access, down here in general access, just click anyone with the link and then copy that link. And then you can put that in an email or anywhere that you want someone to come in and take a look at this product. They can come in and they'll be able to view this product in the viewport in 3D. They'll be able to select each of these graphics, see the properties of it. They won't be able to edit anything, so don't worry about them messing it up, but they'll also be able to comment. So they can say in here that I prefer a different color print at the chest.
So you can actually go through feedback and approvals with the client directly in the platform, therefore getting rid of those messy email chains and confusion. And everybody's working from the same visual, the same product that automatically gets updated when you as an editor make a change. So I really love that aspect of Decorator. And It's wonderful that you can do this on the product level, but I would imagine there'd be collaboration that would need to happen on the collection level too, especially when a new order is coming in. What best practices do you have for setting up an order and managing all of the decorated products inside of Decorator for each customer and project?
Hmm. So, in addition to sharing at the individual product level, you can share here at the collection level. So, you could change this to anyone with the link. So, then you could add this whole collection to your order in whatever order management system you use, and then send this to a customer, or others on your team can check it out. So, others on your team is an important distinction here. Inside of Decorator, your organization can have unlimited view users. So they don't affect your seat count. And the great thing about that is everyone in your shop could see this whole view of what's happening in the org. Here, SEDDI. This is examples of everything that's shared across our entire organization at the moment. Because we're doing so many demos and things, we don't have it set to be automatic for sharing across the organization. What we have to do is, if I go into my work, go back to that original collection, I can set this collection to be visible across the whole organization. Now, there's a setting in my company settings where sharing can be set to automatically have everything shared across the org at all times. This is great for small print shops, or if you don't have different departments, I would highly recommend always do all collections shared across the org. Then everything's visible to everyone. You don't have this issue of like, oh, I can't find it, or one person goes on vacation, you don't know where the work is. So, all collections across the org is a great best practice. And then in your users, again, here is where you can have viewers, editors, and even set different permissions, including owner viewer. So you might have someone on your team who needs to be able to manage billing, or they need to manage the users, but they don't need to actually edit products. They could be an owner viewer. We have 6 viewers in this organization, for example, but you could have as many as you wanted.
So, Harrison, you mentioned earlier that there is more customization that can be done on the tech pack as well. I feel like I remember that we can do that in this part of the platform. Can you walk me through that?
Sure. So in company settings, you've got your company name, and then you've got your company logo. You can add your logo here, and this will appear on all tech packs in your organization by default. So every one of your users will always have your print shop's name at the top of their tech pack. And then the disclaimer is a custom field that you can set the exact wording that you always use on your proofs with your customers. This will be across the bottom of all of the tech packs in your organization. And so let's go into a tech pack again and see how that looks. I'll just use this single product as an example. Here is our company's logo, and here is our disclaimer at the bottom. Now, if I have a custom project with this Swelto customer, for example, and I want to add a different logo for them, I could add that here. And this will only show up on this tech pack. And then if I don't want it anymore, I can remove it. It will go back to my SETI logo.
So, you're able to totally brand your tech packs or to customize them to the client that they're sending it to.
Yeah, exactly. And now some other questions we commonly have around tech packs. Colors is a big one. We touched on this before, that you can customize the color names. I just want to show how that shows up here in the tech pack. So we put in this color again, hide this extra color, and then here I can paste in this Pantone color. And then here I can call it white. I can add an underbase here. I can add a note. You need to have a second underbase in this case. And now when I create the tech pack, I'm going to have those colors called out, the white base, and then the notes called out as well. This gives you a lot of flexibility for those particularly custom call outs you need to make, and also just making sure you have the right colors listed there for your customers.
This is really awesome. And I remember earlier in our conversation, Harrison, we were talking about how you could create a 2D product, a custom product of any photograph that we might not have in the platform. So, can you actually create tech packs for those custom products as well?
Yes. So let me go and show that. Let me go back home and I'll find that 2D product that I added. This is one thing to note. Everyone has a drafts folder. And this is where, if you just create a single product where it will live, and this will not be shared across your organization. This is just for you, sort of as a holding point for a product before you go move it into a collection or create a collection with it. So here I've got this striped towel. So let's go ahead and add a graphic. So it's just going to add a graphic on top of this towel. You can zoom in, you can pan in the viewport. Obviously, you can't rotate, but what you can do is just drag the graphic down to where you want it, rescale it to what looks good. Here, maybe. Let's make the colors correct for this. Let's make a blue color. It has no way to know the size. We can just say it's going to be 3 inches wide. And you can even put in the points of measurement and say it's going to be measured from bottom corner to bottom left corner of the graphic is going to be up 3/4 of an inch. And then now you have everything specced out. I could copy this, go over here and ask for what the Pantone code should be. Create tech pack. So I just have a single image on the front, and then I've got all the other information here on the decoration page.
That's incredible. And it's so great to know that you don't have to leave Decorator and you can create an entire order full of all of the products that you need for any decorated apparel project that you have, any promotional products order that you have. And thanks so much, Harrison. And we are coming up on time here for our webinar today, but I just wanted to ask one final thing for those of us who've made it this far. Do you have any kind of pro tips or ways people can use the platform that maybe are lesser known, more advanced features that you can call out that might be helpful to those on the line?
Sure. Yeah, we have a couple of those that I can show right now just to help you get the most out of Decorator. All right, couple more things for 2D products and for products that have external branding that we don't support, like a Nike swoosh or an Adidas 3 stripes. So first, the 2D products. I just made this towel. It's in my drafts. So I'm going to now move it to a collection. Move it to the collection we were just working on. And so now you'll see it disappear from here. We'll go to my collections, and now it's in this collection. Let's say that down the line, I want to make another product with this, or I want to make another colorway version of this. I can do that by duplicating. I can just duplicate this product and then go into the new one and change the color of the graphic. I can also do this at the collection level. So this can be a big time saver for you. Let's say you have an assortment that you always do for customers. Could be a mix of 2D and 3D products like this. what you could do is just click here, duplicate the whole collection. And once you do that, when you come into that collection and manage graphics, select a graphic and just replace that graphic with a new one. So then you can have your team or your school set duplicate that collection and just replace those graphics for every school you want to pitch. And that way you can use this as an outbound tool. And then the last thing I wanted to talk about is our official brand logos. So we have some products that are True Match that have external logos like this Adidas quarter zip. So when you start using this product, you will see a region called official brand logo. So you can go and find the Adidas logo and add it to that region. These regions are specifically sized for those brand logos. So you don't have to worry about getting the sizing right. They won't appear in tech packs. So you don't have to worry about confusing anyone that you're going to be printing that. And the same way that you should duplicate your 2D products, if you've built this Adidas product and you've got the branding all set, instead of building from the library with it, you could just duplicate it and switch out the graphics in the future, saving you the time of having to find that logo again and upload it. So just some pro tips for working around the current limitations.
Awesome. Thank you so much for those pro tips, Harrison. I know there's some power users on the line who are probably going to make use of those great tips. But I just want to say thank you for everyone to tuning in to our ultimate demo today. We covered so much ground, and hopefully you have a better idea of what Decorator is, what it does, and how it can support your business. And if you are interested in learning more about SEDDI and our Decorator solution, please visit us at SEDDI.com, fill in a request a demo form, and we would love to personalize a demo to you. And for those users on the line that already work with us, thank you so much for your support. And we hope that you were able to glean some new insights on how to use the platform today. So, Harrison, anything you want to say to cap things off?
No, just thanks a lot. Thanks for watching. I hope that everything we shared can be helpful and look forward to hearing from you and seeing what you create.
Yes, thank you, everyone. We'll see you on the next one. Bye for now.
See you later.